I would just ask for an argument for God, since this is an atheist helpline, so like, that's where I would start. Hello? Oh yeah, I'm coming through, so. Or am I not coming through?
I'm sorry. You said you want an argument for God. Is that because you hold to the not God world?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the argument for the not God world that you accepted, the not God world?
Well, there were like several.
What was the argument by which you adopted the not God world? Because I just want to see if you're sincere in asking for an argument for God.
Yeah, so like, I don't really find the notion of omnipotence coherent under like how it's like presented in the Christian worldview. That's why gonna be my reason to
that doesn't get you to the not God world.
Well, I mean, I just reject like, I don't know, Islam, Christianity.
Okay. So let's start with the basic characteristics of God. Okay. God is the supreme being who is eternal, self-contained, non-dependent, and is the creator of all things that are not himself. Okay. So what argument convinced you that you're in a not God world as opposed to a God world, as I just defined? What argument convinced you of that? Because if you don't have an argument for that, then when you ask for an argument for the existence of God, I know you're not being sincere.
Well, that's not how I understand the term God, so I don't know if I can help you there.
Okay, well, do you believe that what is foundational, fundamental, and ultimate to all contingent states is a mind? Do you believe that?
No.
Okay, so you disbelieve and deny the existence of God. So that's the not God world. What was the argument that changed your mind on that?
I haven't really thought about that kind of God.
Okay, so why are you? Well, do you believe in that?
Do I believe
Yeah.
in the?
Well, the reason I believe in God, okay, the reason why I believe in God is the only reason that anybody could believe in God is that God has taken the initiative to make certain manifestations, which refers to creation, that undeniably reveal his existence.
Like what?
Creation reveals God's eternal properties and attributes, and there won't be a defense against that. That in order for there to be facts, those facts would have to be indicative and revelatory of God and by his design that they were, or that they're not indicative and revelatory of God, but then they wouldn't mean anything because there would be no metaphysical background information as to what or why it was.
So, like a fact would be like, I'm at my computer.
Hold on,
right
I
now.
have to step away. Hold on.
Yeah, that's it.
Darth Dawkins!
Don't troll.
Yeah.
Darth Dawkins, the fucking retard brainlet boomer who only argues via dialogue trees and can't reason with any actual point he hasn't heard before.
So why does he destroy you?
He has not ever destroyed me.
He just did in front of everybody. He hanged you, slapped you around, and then spit at you.
Just did. I didn't even debate him today at all.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I'm the one who's talking to Darth, but I don't know. Seems like the conversation was going fine so far.
Good luck.
Anybody? Sorry, what?
Headband guy here. I think he's confusing me with you.
Oh, I see. What a silly goose.
Darth Dawkins is one of, if not the worst pro-religious debaters of all time. Gets eviscerated every time he hops into a Discord call. He hasn't made a single actual comprehensible argument. He is a boomer troglodyte, deserves to be banned off the internet.
Well, you're just lying now and being, insincere. You know that Darth is very experienced in debating, actually, and he is actually pretty good at it, if I say it myself. And he has presented arguments.
Well, how do you?
I think the argument he does present is the transcendental argument for the existence of God, right?
Well, look at it this way. If his argument is so good and he's such a good debater, then why does he flip out on people?
I don't know what you're talking about. Like, he has debated top atheists in the world and not flipped out from the debates. Like, I don't know.
Well, if you don't know what I'm talking about, then just YouTube search Tom Rabbit.
I've done that. And he has the literal videos, right? On Darth debating top atheists.
And
I know about that he has videos on him, but I don't think that these videos show what you think. I think he's a very interesting individual to listen to. That's why everybody's here listening, right? And I think that he's pretty, he has coherence to his arguments. Do I agree with everything he says? Absolutely not, right? Quite the contrary. But I think that you are heavily, overestimating how good his interlocutors are and underestimating him. I think this is not fair. And I'm not even a Christian.
So he's like Anakin, and I'm underestimating his power, basically.
Well, you word it in the way you feel suits the best.
I just disagree. I think he's a terrible debater.
I think it's great. He can escape not answering questions in a very smooth way. He's very good at controlling conversations. He's very good at
banning
people. By muting and banning people. That's his debate style.
Yeah, but if other people would do that, people would just take away their perms, right? But he is interesting, right? And I've seen debates with him.
Well, Sasha, I'll put it this way. He's really good at interrogating people if you have a certain definition of good. But when it comes to an actual debate where both sides have equal time to present their argument and ask each other questions, then no. Almost every interaction that Darth has is it's him asking the other person questions, but you don't really see it happen the other way around, though.
That's a lie.
There's a reason for that.
That is a lie. I have people asking me questions morning, noon, and night. Would you like to ask me some questions right now?
Yeah.
You're talking to me there.
Go ahead.
Do you believe that the soul that sins dies?
Yeah.
Okay, so the soul that sins dies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you believe everything in Ezekiel 18, right?
Well, I'll have to look that up and take a look at it.
Okay. Okay, yeah, just read that chapter and then get back to me.
Wait, but Darth, you were talking to me and then you said
what?
I don't know if you
hold on. What chapter? What chapter?
Ezekiel 18.
Okay, so from what context are you an atheist?
Yeah. I would also say that I enjoy practicing philosophy, so it's not as much talking about it, but more so putting it into practice.
Okay, what translation are you quoting from?
ESV.
DSV. Okay. I'm going to be reading it from the New American Standard. Is that acceptable to you?
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Okay, what verse?
Just the whole chapter.
Okay, could you tell me what you would like to talk about first?
Yeah, so the idea of Because in Ezekiel 18 it talks about that the soul that sins dies. So if someone
what verse?
Let me look at it. Let's open it up here. Try reading verses 25 through 29. There's more, but that should be good.
Yet you say the way of the Lord is not right. Hear now, O house of Israel, is my way not right? Is not your ways that are not right? When a righteous man turns away from his righteousness, commits iniquity, and dies because of this, for his iniquity he will be committed, which he has committed, he will die. Again, when a wicked man turns away from his wickedness, which he has committed, and practices justice and righteousness, he will save his life. Because he is considered and turned away from his transgressions, which he has committed, he shall surely live and not die. But the house of Israel says, the way of the Lord is not right, and my ways are not right, O house of Israel. Is not your ways that are not right? What's your objection?
Oh, also read verse 20.
Verse 20? Okay.
Yeah.
The person who sins will die. The son will not bear the punishment for the father's iniquity, nor the father bear the punishment for the son's iniquity. The righteousness of the righteous will be upon himself, and the wickedness on the wicked will be upon himself. And?
Yeah. So if Ezekiel 18 verse 20 is true, then why did God kill David's firstborn for his sin?
Well, because you're making a category error, okay? Because what he's talking about here is that humans are not to punish the children of the parents who sins, okay? Right? But God, if God foreshortens somebody's life, it's not necessarily a punishment. It's just a cessation of life. But that cessation of life can be a punishment, a temporal punishment for the parents. So you're making a category error.
Okay. So verse 4 also says, behold, all souls are mine, the soul of the Father as well as the soul of the Son is mine. The soul who sins shall die.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not talking about fathers and sons killing each other. It's talking about if you sin, you die.
No. I get. See, this is the problem I have with you amateurs. You're not well read in the Bible, and you're not well read in theology. Okay. Now, in Genesis,
I wonder the whole chapter.
Listen to me carefully. No. Okay. What's the fifth book in the New Testament?
Acts.
Very good. What's the last book in the Bible?
Revelation.
What's the book after Acts?
Acts. That would be Romans.
Okay, very good. Now, what does God say to Adam when they eat if they eat the fruit?
If you eat it, you'll die.
Right. And have you looked up in the Hebrew how that was worded?
I mean, I don't know Hebrew, but I could.
Okay, so does Scripture interpret Scripture?
Sure.
Okay, so in the Hebrew it reads, "In the day you eat thereof, dying you shall die." Okay, so the phrase "the day therein" doesn't necessitate that it referring to the dying. It means in the day that you eat the fruit, you will surely die. Dying, you will die. Okay, did Adam die?
Not right away, no, but he did eventually.
Okay, but the text does not say that he will die right away. It doesn't even mean that he will die in the 24-hour period that he ate the fruit. The phrase "the day therein" can refer either to the day when you eat the fruit, then the sentence of death will be upon you. Or somebody might, in the English translation, semantically want to impose "in the day thereof" means that you will die within 24 hours. Okay. The Hebrew reads, "You will die." So God is reiterating here again that you will die. Okay. Now there's physical death and there's also spiritual death. So where's the problem here?
So does it say in Ezekiel that the person who sins will die within 24 hours?
No. The soul who
Okay,
sins
good.
will die. Listen, every person who's a sinner on this planet, okay, in the past has died. The soul who
And when
sins
they die?
will die. Okay? So is everybody on the planet a
What
sinner?
do they die for?
Okay, 200 years from now, will you be alive?
No.
Okay, so because you're a sinner, you will die.
Right. Because I'm a sinner, not my dad.
I'm not seeing a problem anywhere in the text here.
Okay, so do you think people die for their own sins or for their dad's sins?
We die because we're sinners. Now, sometimes when people commit certain sins, that it can expedite their death. So, for example, some people who take drugs or alcohol have expedited their death. But even if they had not consumed alcohol or drugs or acted in a dangerous way, they still would have died anyway. But they did not die expeditiously.
Okay.
So again, I don't see any problems in these verses.
Okay, so when they take the drugs, they die because they're the ones who took it, not because their dads took
No,
it.
they die first and foremost because they're a sinner. But when they
Yeah, not
die
because
from
their
taking
dad was.
drugs and when they die from drugs and alcohol, that particular instance expedites their death. Do you know what expedite means?
It's like a catalyst for it.
Kind of. It means that it brings it to pass more quickly than it ordinarily would have. Suppose I go to my local pharmacy and I need a prescription for a relative, right? Right.
Okay.
And I say to the pharmacist, I really can't wait, okay, because I have an emergency. Can you please expedite the prescription and get it done before the others for my relative, whatever, okay? And the pharmacist goes, oh, okay. So again, I'm not seeing any problem with these passages here.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, like it says here in verse 20, it says that the soul shall not suffer for the iniquity of the father, nor the father suffer for the iniquity of the son. So you agree with that, right?
Okay, what is that referring to?
It's referring to the father's and son's iniquities.
This is talking about the human imposition of punishing children for their father's or mother's crimes. Okay? But God reserves the prerogative when he says, I, the Lord, and I'm going to paraphrase, what's the word? I'm blanking out on how to quote it here. I will visit the sins and iniquities on the third and fourth generations to them that hate me. Okay. What that simply means is that God will allow future generations to experience wickedness when they are unrepentant and follow in the ways of their father, and there could be certain consequences to that. So God has the prerogative to do whatever he wants with his creation. But God says that we have the prerogative to do some things in terms of human government and not. And one of those is we are not to punish a child for its father's crime.
Okay. So is Ezekiel 18 talking about strictly in a legal sense, or is it talking about sinning in general?
Okay, you're going to have to give me a specific verse.
Yeah, verse
20. The person who sins will die. Okay, that's right. Anyone who sins, they're going to die. Okay. And then it says, the son will not bear the punishment for the father's iniquity, nor the father bear the punishment for the son's iniquity. Okay, yeah. What God is saying again
so the
here.
punishment.
That's right. Okay, so God is speaking through Ezekiel to his covenant people, which he has already established in his covenant, that children were not to be punished by agents of the government for sins of their father. Okay.
I don't see where it says agents of the government.
Okay, listen carefully. Are you familiar with the Mosaic Law? Isn't what God here is saying, listen to me carefully.
What?
Do you think the God of the Bible who's speaking there isn't speaking in reference to what he has previously declared, and he's simply reminding the Israelites again what he had declared in his covenant with them? Do you think there's no relevance there?
Maybe.
Okay.
Possibly.
So this is just a reiteration of what God had previously stated, a stipulation for the statutes within his covenant with Israel.
Okay. Do you have a chapter and verse, or?
Why would I need a chapter and verse?
Well, because you're referencing the Bible.
Yeah, I'm referencing the Mosaic Law. Have you read the Mosaic Law, the 630 plus laws, where God says in there, I can't cite the exact citation for you, but if I did a Google search, I could come up with it quickly, where he mandates that the children are not to be punished for the sins of the father. Okay, this is just God's ruling that they don't have the prerogative to do that. Okay, God gives us the prerogative to do some things and the prerogative not to do some things.
Okay. Now I also know.
So do you have any other serious objection?
Yeah. So Exodus is part of the Torah, right?
So are we done with Ezekiel?
It's related to Ezekiel. It's going back to the Torah.
I'm listening.
All right. So Exodus is part of the Torah, which is essentially the law.
Do you have a Jewish background? Do you have a Jewish background?
I got a Catholic background.
Okay. I'm just wondering why you refer to it as the Torah.
Yeah. So anyway, so Exodus.
Do you have acquaintances that are Jewish? Do you have acquaintances that are Jewish?
I have some Jewish friends. But the point.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So with Exodus, God kills all the firstborn in Egypt.
Okay.
Because Pharaoh hardened his heart.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So whose iniquity did they die for? Their own or Pharaoh's?
They died because of the rebellion of Pharaoh.
Okay. But in Ezekiel it says that the father and son will die for their own iniquities.
Right. I already explained this to you. Don't you remember?
Yeah, you said it was in a legal sense.
God reserves the prerogative, okay, to punish Pharaoh, okay, and he killed all of them, okay. Those firstborn were, quote, they weren't punished, okay. They were not punished because God ended their life, okay, but they were killed nonetheless by virtue of Pharaoh's his iniquity.
Okay.
So in other words, the 10 plagues, including the death of the firstborn, were given because of Pharaoh's unrepentance. That's why the 10 plagues were given. It just so happens that the last plague was the cessation of the life of every firstborn. The firstborn were, quote, not being punished. Okay.
So in this case, death isn't a punishment?
Pharaoh was being punished by the 10 plagues. Right. This resulted in the death of all the firstborn. Okay. Are you talking about the end, the cessation of life for all firstborn was a plague. The plagues were sent because of Pharaoh's unrepentance. The individuals themselves were not being punished. The plagues was a punishment upon Pharaoh's rule. It was directed at Pharaoh. Okay, you don't want to repent? I'm going to give this plague. Okay?
Okay.
So do you understand that if God providentially brings about that somebody has a foreshortened life, that does not ipso facto constitute a direct and immediate punishment. So, for example, when Ananias and Sapphira lied to Peter, and he says, "Why has Satan filled your heart to lie to the Holy Spirit?" They were struck dead immediately. Their cessation of life was an immediate, on-the-spot punishment for their sin. But certain of the firstborn, all of the firstborn, if they were not under the blood of the Lamb, okay? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because they were not, that's why the plague of the death of the firstborn happened. But those individuals who died were not themselves specifically being punished, although their life was ended. Now, if you want to see it as them being punished, then you wouldn't have a biblical view on it.
Okay, yeah. So
God is under no obligation to keep anybody alive.
Right, but it also says in the Bible that death is the punishment for sin. And
right.
This is
talking about, okay. Now, can God act preemptively if someone's going to sin? Do you think? Okay. Do you think that all of the babies and toddlers who died in the plague, do you think that they weren't going to sin?
They probably were.
Right. Okay. So would it have made you feel? Would it have made you feel better if God gave the plague to all of the firstborn 8 and up? Would that make you feel better? If a police officer was on the 6th floor of the sixth floor book depository and they saw Lee Harvey Oswald with his scope about to pull the trigger, if you were a police officer, would you shoot him?
Yeah, because it's attempted murder.
Okay. So, but he didn't pull the trigger, did he?
No, but he's going.
So you were acting preemptively.
Sure.
Okay. So is it okay for God to act preemptively?
In the situation where someone's about,
is it okay for God to act preemptively?
I just answered your question.
I didn't hear the answer. Is that a yes or no?
Okay. Yes, in the clarification that if
okay,
the
good.
other
Then we're gonna move on. Is there any other problem here? Because I've dismissed all of your objections.
Wait, did you hear it this time though?
What?
My response.
I thought I did. Is there something I didn't hear?
Yeah. What was it?
I'm waiting.
Yeah. So in a situation where a person's about to sin, because that's what Lee Harvey Oswald was doing, then yes. But if I like to think about it more in the situation of, imagine I'm an 8-year-old and then the police come and arrest me, even though I didn't do anything, but they said, "Oh, when you turn 30, you're going to do this, so we're arresting you now as an 8-year-old."
Right. Well, they don't have the prerogative to act always act preemptively. Did they know you were going to commit a crime?
No.
Does God know?
Yes.
Okay, so you now have committed a category error.
Okay. But
do you have anything else, any other objection left standing about this chapter? Because so far nothing you've brought up has held water.
Was that supposed to be a pun?
No. Do you have any other objection?
I mean, if you don't see a problem, then I can't really force you to.
No, you haven't. You haven't really. You've attempted to raise objection, but they've all been defeated.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anything else?
That's fine.
Okay. Did I answer all your questions?
Yes.
Okay. Then don't ever again say I don't answer questions.
That's fine.
Okay. Because that's a lie. Okay. Because I do answer people's questions. But you see, when people open up their mouth and they speak to me, more often than not, they're making propositional remarks. Are they not?
Maybe.
Maybe. So what are they just gurgling and making throat sounds?
Maybe not sounds, but more just shitting out of their asses.
So people are giving me propositional content. I don't have the right. I don't have the right, quotation marks, to question the veracity of their propositions.
I think you do. Can I ask you a separate?
Wait, did someone say you didn't?
But I thought I was next in line.
Oh, I didn't know there was a line. I apologize.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay, so what was your screen name again here?
Mine?
No, the atheist that I was talking about, Ezekiel.
Oh, Garth Dix.
Okay, all right. Now, I've answered all your questions. Can you tell me why you're an atheist?
I would say I'm an atheist because it helps me practice Stoicism.
Helps you practice what?
Stoicism.
What?
Stoicism.
The philosophy of Stoicism.
Oh, Stoicism. You were breaking up because I didn't hear that. Stoicism. Okay.
Yeah, I'm on Wi-Fi.
Well, but that doesn't tell me why atheism is true.
Okay.
Atheism represents the not God world.
Sure.
How did you come to the conclusion that the not God world is true?
I believe truth is whatever is practical.
That's not an answer to my question.
Yeah.
Now, sir, you indicted me. You had the teeny tiny little balls to accuse me of not answering questions. I just asked you a direct, fair question, and you purposely evaded.
Okay,
you, sir, are a hypocrite.
I just thought you could connect the dots. So
did you not just evade my question?
No.
Yes, you did. Now you're compounding your prevarication with lying. Do you think I was born yesterday? Yeah. Oh no. I'm connecting the dots.
Have a doubt about
that you're a prevaricator and that you're a liar. Now, the not God world is true because
it's true because it's practical.
That's a non-informative answer, Sunshine. You'll have to do better than that. I sure hope you're not a teenager. Excuse me, let me rephrase that. I sure hope you're not an adult, because that's the kind of dumb answer I would get from a teenager. Okay? Let's try it again. Let's try it again. Give me a substantive, answer. God does not exist because...
Well, God doesn't exist because I can suck my own cock.
You can what?
God doesn't exist because I can suck my own cock.
Okay, so you've just revealed that you're an absolute troll. I asked you a legitimate question, right? And you dodged the question. And you have the teeny tiny balls to say I don't answer questions when you just give me another obscene, evasive response?
Well, it was informative, right?
Let's no, it was not. Okay. Would you like to be banned from my room here? I'll ask the question again. Okay, you flaming hypocrite! You.
He left.
No, he's here. He's here. Wasn't his name Garth? Wasn't his name Garth?
Garth. Oh yeah, Garth. Yeah.
Yeah, Garth. Let's do it. Let's do it again. Okay. God does not exist because.
Yeah, God doesn't exist because I can suck my own cock.
Okay, so this guy. Okay, good. Now you've earned. Now you've earned being banned from here. Okay.
Yeah, exile.
You're a liar. You're a liar. You're a scumbag. Okay. Now you sit there and going, "Oh, Darth likes to Darth likes to question people all the time, but he doesn't answer questions." I sat here for 20 minutes answering all your questions. Okay. I then ask you a series of questions and you dodge and you evade. You're a hypocritical, lying little scumbag. Okay. And you won't be back. You won't be back on this channel under this account. You'll have to sneak in on another one. Hit the road, scumbag.
Do you want to go back to the conversation we were having earlier?
Wait a minute, Darth. Scythe wants to be unmuted. He said that you said you would unmute him.
Sasha, mine might be real quick.
Yeah, Sasha, why do you want to come in here and troll? Why do you come in here and troll? No one's interested in your conversations, Sasha.
I'm not trolling.
So,
wait, Darth, do you want to continue the conversation we were having before? Like,
I'm listening. I'm multitasking here. I'm working and I'm listening. Okay, so
Sasha, mine might be really, really quick.
No, but I was waiting for like 20 minutes.
I know. That's why I was asking.
Sasha, let him go. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Someone told me that you had a very interesting argument that I would very much like to hear.
Whoa! Is this String?
Yeah. How's it going?
No. We're not doing this, asshole.
Oh, okay.
We're not playing this game. When you dodge legitimate questions, okay, and then you just say, how is that relevant? Oh, I'm not answering that.
Okay.
You know what? You're a scumbag. Now, do you want to repent of your previous bad behavior, and then we can start fresh? That you will answer legitimate questions about your assertions and not refuse. Okay. Sure. So when you refused, when I said you have violated the law of non-contradiction, and you said
obviously
no, I haven't.
You're correct.
Okay, good. So we're going to start a clean slate.
Oh, okay, cool.
If you repeat your past behavior, then you're going to be persona non grata.
Understood. Yes, we absolutely are.
Good.
So someone said you had a very interesting argument, and they were trying to explain it to me, and I don't think they did it even remote justice. The argument was about the existence of a Trinity and why the Trinity is a necessary feature. And this is an avenue. So let me be clear. I know very little about this. I am actually asking to be informed. I have absolutely no way of challenging you, and any answers that I give are necessarily uninformed on this issue. That you have a very interesting take or explanation for why the Trinity is a necessary feature of a deity. I think I asked that question right, but I might have gotten it wrong. I'm not going to be helpful in challenging you in this one.
So far, that's fine. You've done fine.
Because I'm not going to be good at challenging you on this one because I know nothing about this. But they said you had a very interesting argument that if you need someone to play the foil to, I can try, but I will fail miserably.
And if you're going to have that take, then I won't press you on it. Okay.
Okay.
The doctrine of the Trinity is necessary for the overall coherence of our world, because in order for the world to be coherent, it must reflect the character and the nature of God. So God himself must possess internal coherence. Okay.
Hold on.
So that.
Just because I'm going to be slow on this. That was not me trying to cut you off. I'm trying to make sure that I'm following. So God needs internal coherence. Okay, I agree.
Yeah. No, and when I didn't say God needs.
Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay. God has.
So the doctrine of the Trinity, once you understand it in theologically, which is not easy. There's a good book on it called The Trinity.
Hold on. And I want to write it down. Go.
Okay, let me just pull up the book here. Hold on, I'll give you the exact.
Someone says a book. I'm almost certainly going to read it.
Okay, it's The Trinity and the Vindication of the Christian Paradox. Would you like me to send it to you right now?
I truly believe in compensating authors, so if it is
that's fine. The Trinity and the Vindication of the Christian Paradox by Bosserman.
Then it's definitely copyrighted. I will literally buy it right now.
The Interpretation and the Refinement of the Theological Apologetics of Cornelius Van Til. Okay?
I see it. I have it on Kindle. I'll read it eventually. Okay.
So because God is a Trinity, okay, he is one God, one being in essence, and he has a threefold distinction or diversity with himself, which has been revealed as the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Okay. God being actual and in himself intelligible, when he creates the world reflects God's character and nature, and that includes his internal coherency. Okay?
Okay.
So, God is the one, and he is the many. Okay? In a certain sense, he is one, and in a certain sense, he is the many.
Yep.
So God solves the theological and the philosophical perennial problem of the one and the many. What is the ultimate nature of reality? Is it in its oneness or not its oneness? Well, the biblical answer is that God is neither in isolation. God is one, and he is also the many, and those characteristics are equally ultimate. Okay? One does not have supremacy over the other. When then God creates the world has oneness at one level, and then it has lower levels of oneness or unity among the diversity. So we have unity and diversity in the world. Okay?
I'm there still.
So the Trinity represents God's unity and diversity. He then creates the world and imposes unity and diversity.
Okay.
Consequently, then we can have intelligibility when we speak in our world. Now, got the reason why
Do you
it's
mind
Trinitarian.
If I ask a question? I'm sorry.
In a second, let me just say.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So if we take one of the persons out of the Trinity and we talk about a binity, or we add a quadinity.
Oh, you were doing what I was going to ask. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a common.
This is the part that I'm like lost on.
Mm-hmm, yeah, it can get very technical, and there are other people that are better at giving the specifications than I am, like Matt Yester, because I have to reread the book. I've read it once already. But what happens is we now have that in the doctrine of the Trinity, each person is relational with another person. Okay, there's a relationship there, and they are within the context of something that's personal, the third person. So regardless of which person of the Trinity we're focusing on, they will always be in a relation with another person, and that relationship will be in the context of another person. Okay, you got that?
Yes, I'm still having a tough time.
Now, if we remove one person from the Trinity or add another, then any two of them will not be within the context of another person. They will be within the context of an abstraction, which would be a set. Okay?
I think I'm following. Yes.
Okay? So the coherence comes in is that the relationality between the two persons is always within the context of the third person and not an impersonal group, such as a quadrinity.
Okay. This is where the coherence falls apart for me. I have gotten why it needs to be both one and not one. And it obviously can't be negative, so I understand why it must be both one and many. I've gotten there. It's the why not a different number that is the argument that where it fell down before. So I got to it can't be just one because then it's not many, and it can't be just many because then it's not one. And you said 2 or 4, and I thought that was interesting. And the argument that was presented to me before about why it had to be 3 and not 2 or 4 was something about a triangle and spinning, and I thought that was terrible.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I wasn't saying what you said were terrible. I got a little lost. So can you concise? No, that's not the right word. I'm lost on why it can't be 4. Why can't we add my coffee cup? I don't mean to be offensive in saying that. It's just the thing that was sitting.
I understand. And by the way, I really appreciate you going the extra mile and having a civil interaction.
Sure. Why can't we add my coffee cup? And I don't mean that insultingly, to the divine pantheon. Why isn't it so important that I have caffeine in the morning that's non-divine?
Okay. In order for there to be intelligibility, whatever is in view must be within the context of a person. Okay?
Okay.
So to use another example where we talk about if there's no observers, okay, right? Then how do we have facts, right? Remember you said there's no categories without observers? Remember you said that yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so what we need is whatever is invoked, factual state, there's going to have to be a within the context of a person, okay? So each two members of the Trinity, whichever one you choose, who are in relation to each other, they will always be within the context of the third person.
I understand now. I understand the relevance
if you
of
add,
three.
if you,
I'm there.
If you
I'm
add,
100% there.
If you add a fourth God,
it's not the third.
Then now any two persons that are in relation
exclude. Yep.
They will now be within the context of an abstract group.
I totally understand. Like that, I am over the hump as to why 3 is a magic number. And,
now, when you read the book, when you read the book, Bosserman, who is vastly more educated and vastly smarter than I am, nails it to the T. Okay, I don't even do justice to his expertise.
Yep, I owe Sasha, because I took way too long, his place in line. I very much appreciate that we were able to set aside what was partially troubling and partially not troubling about our experience yesterday. And I look forward to when I have knowledge about a topic.
Go ahead.
Ahead.
Complete amnesia.
Total amnesia. I look forward to
I don't know what you're talking about.
Absolutely. I look forward into the future when we're discussing a subject I have knowledge about, contesting with you my superior knowledge about whatever that subject may be.
Excellent. Now I'm going to sing a rendition of Carol Burnett at the end of her show. Anybody know about the Carol Burnett show? Anyone? Is everybody unaware of Carol Burnett? I guess so.
I know about Carol Burnett.
Carol Burnett used to always end her show, "I'm so glad we had this time together." All right, let's move on. Go ahead, Sasha.
Yeah, so I think you're in the middle of explaining something. But I don't do me to what's the word? Summarize the conversation so far.
I'm not understanding it.
Oh, I think you were the one who was making
Here
a
we
point
go.
before
Here we go with trolling.
Took a break, but I don't. Do you want me to summarize where we were?
Do you have a point you want to make or a question?
Well, yeah. So I asked you for an argument for God, and then we went down.
Yeah, my rationale for God, okay, is I could only rationally believe in God if and only if God takes the initiative to reveal himself, okay? And because I have concluded that such manifestation necessarily entails God, I therefore believe in God.
Okay, so what's an example of such a manifestation?
All facts. I believe that the entire creation, individually and collectively, reveal God's eternal properties and attributes. They indicate and they reveal God. And they could only indicate and reveal God if he intended that. And the only other option is to say they don't reveal God, which will result in unintelligibility. Okay? So I take the position that because I have intelligibility, okay, that my self-consciousness, if it is to be intelligible and meaningful, therefore it necessarily is indicative of God. Otherwise, there won't be any ultimate reference point for my consciousness to be anything or mean anything. I'm using a form of transcendental reasoning. Transcendental reasoning, what are they? Transcendental reasoning says for any fact or any situation of human experience, what are any preconditions or transcendental conditions that will be necessary in order for such fact to be or to possess intelligibility? Okay?
Right. So I guess the part I'm not really going to be getting now is just why do we need God for this sort of intelligibility?
Because when God is and he reveals himself, then God's self-disclosure provides us with an ultimate context and reference point so that there can be facts and they to possess intelligibility. Without such metaphysical framework, then facts would be unintelligible. They would be completely uninterpretable.
Yeah, so that's the part where I'm lost. Like, why is that?
Because facts will either be what God, they start in the mind of God, and God is the first interpreter. So therefore, any interpretation of facts that do not square with the mind of God would mean that it would not be a coherent interpretation. It wouldn't be intelligible because it doesn't share God's interpretation. God is the creator. Is in the Christian worldview, God is the first interpreter, right?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Now, therefore, any interpretation of facts that does not conform, cohere, or is commensurate with the mind of God or God's interpretation, it will be therefore rendered in the broad scope of things as not coherent.
Yeah, but so now it sounds like we have to assume God in the first place. Like we have to say that God.
I'm not asking you. I'm not asking you to assume. Did I ask you to assume God?
Well, you didn't directly ask me.
No, didn't I tell you that the only reason why I and other people believe that God is because God has taken the initiative to reveal himself? Okay, so I point out to people, I point out to deists all the time. They'll say, well, I believe in this God. I'll say, what God? Your God doesn't engage in self-disclosure, so how can you invoke that he exists? So I'm invoking God by virtue of his revelation. Okay?
Yeah.
That the world indicates and reveals God in an undeniable, irrefutable way.
Yeah.
That in order for facts to be facts, then they would necessitate deriving and depending upon the mind of God.
Yeah, but I took it to be saying like the explanation for why we need God to ground those facts is because they start in the mind of God.
Well, okay, let's just take the Christian worldview momentarily just for the sake of argument, okay? Imagine you
assume it as well.
What's that?
I'm supposed to assume it as well.
No, I'm just saying, just for the sake of argument, temporarily.
Yeah.
In the Christian worldview, there would be no fact that itself did not start in the mind of God, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so therefore, facts require God ontologically, and their intelligibility require being commensurate with the mind of God as the first interpreter. Okay, so that's what makes a fact, and what provides for its intelligibility. Now, if you reject that, would it be your belief that a fact can be defended as a fact and that it would be in any sense interpretable without God being the ultimate reference point?
Seems to me like there's no problem.
Okay, so you believe that it is defensible, that you can instantiate a fact and its accompanying intelligibility without God being the ultimate reference point, the ultimate context.
Yeah, so maybe I'll just give you how I understand those terms.
Could you tell me what that is then?
Yeah, but I just want to be clear on the terminology.
No, I don't want to hear yeah, but okay. Can you tell me what is the ultimate reference point or metaphysical context that will make a fact and its intelligibility?
But I just want to be clear on the terminology.
Okay. What terminology aren't you clear about?
Yeah, so when you say intelligible and the ultimate reference point, those are the two that like I'm 50-50 on.
Okay, so in the Christian worldview, since God is the supreme being, he's the eternal one who's self-contained, unconditionally non-dependent and derivative, okay? Everything that exists ultimately derives and depends upon God. So God will be the ultimate reference point. God will be the ultimate context.
Like the cause of everything? Is that sort of the idea?
God is the reference point because nothing would exist without him. So,
okay, so
that would include chronologically and contemporarily as well. So God is the ultimate reference point. God is the ultimate metaphysical context upon why anything at all exists, and also its intelligibility.
Okay,
now,
that makes sense.
If and you reject that, right?
Yeah, and the second term was intelligibility.
Okay, can you tell me then what is the ultimate reference point or ultimate metaphysical context that provides for any fact?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that role in my worldview is going to be played
What?
by in my worldview. What's going to play that role are just the things that exist in the universe.
Oh, okay. So what you're saying is reality.
Well, reality is going to be the sum of all facts, right? So basically, yeah.
Okay. Now that's incoherent. Okay. Let me tell you why. Okay. So what you're saying is each and every particular, okay, that are all the particulars in the set. Is the set abstract, or is there something that concretely unifies all the particulars?
Well, the set wouldn't just be particulars, right? It would also be the universals.
No, sir. Listen to me. In the set of all real things, okay, what unifies all the particulars? Is it something concrete, or is the set a mental abstraction so that we can put a handle around all of the discrete particulars?
Yeah, I mean, so what I take to unify things is abstract things.
Okay, so there's not a concrete universal then, right?
Well, I wouldn't say so. Yeah.
Okay. So if there's not a concrete universal, then you don't have a final reference point.
Yeah. See, I don't really get that. Like, what's
you're not understanding. Okay. When you appeal to reality, the set of all real things, then for each particular, at its most rudimentary level, whatever that is, it comes into existence, it remains in existence, and its intelligibility is entirely derived from all the plurality of particulars around it. So an asteroid halfway across the universe, in conjunction with everything else, instituted and secured the actuality of the moon?
Yes, I wouldn't say that.
Okay. Are all the particulars in and of themselves absolute, self-contained, unconditionally non-dependent, and derivative?
That's sort of a mouthful, but I take...
Are each particular absolute in itself? And by absolute, I mean unconditionally non-dependent and derivative.
I mean, certain particulars, yeah.
No, sir. I'm asking you. You said...
So no, not all particulars.
The set of all things is the ultimate reference point. All I want to know is each particular within the set.
Yeah.
Is each particular eternal, absolute, and unconditionally self-contained, non-derivative, and non-dependent?
No, each of them wouldn't be. Some of them would be.
No. I'm talking about them, all of them together. Is there any particular that is self-contained and unconditionally non-dependent?
What would be self-contained?
Is there any particular that you can think of that is absolute in and of itself, self-contained, non-derivative, and non-dependent?
I mean, sure, right? Like the universe.
No, the universe is an abstraction, sir.
I mean,
the universe is a term. Object. You are reifying an abstract set of concrete particulars. Now, is any one of the particulars within the abstract set that you refer to the universe, whatever those particulars are, is any one of them unconditionally non-dependent and non-derivative?
Sure. So if I understand you correctly, there are going to be some like that.
I'm still waiting for an answer.
I said yes.
Okay. Now, and how many of the particulars are self-contained?
Infinitely many?
I didn't hear you.
Infinitely many.
Oh, so each of the particulars are absolute within themselves?
No, not each of them.
Okay, listen to me carefully. If each of the particulars are absolute within themselves, you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
If they're absolute and self-contained, then they have no, excuse me, I have something in my throat.
You got this dick.
Then they, if they're absolute within themselves, then it's a contradiction in terms to say that they have an ultimate reference point, because they would be their own reference point. They would be their own context because they're self-contained. So you, sir, have contradicted yourself.
Contain these nuts in your throat.
I didn't say it's each
Hold on a second, Zach. If you heckle, okay, and he drive by left, listen carefully. You told me that each of the particulars have an ultimate reference point of their derivation and intelligibility to the set of all real things. That's what you said.
I think you misheard me. I didn't say each of them.
No. Listen to me, okay? I don't think... Is there an ultimate reference point for each and every particular in existence?
Well, so I gave you the answer of reality, but you're saying that's abstract, right?
Okay, so
this is the part of his troll, man. He's so annoying.
I know it is, but I just want to demonstrate methodically to everybody in the room what a liar he is. Okay, and I'm just exposing his incompetence.
Expose my balls.
Do each and every one of the particulars have an ultimate reference point?
Yeah, I gave you the answer. Yeah.
Okay. But now you've contradicted yourself. Because if each particular has an ultimate reference point, then you cannot simultaneously say that there are some particulars that are self-contained. You have contradicted yourself metaphysically. Do you understand? Do you understand? Okay, listen. If a particular is absolute self-contained within itself, then it's incoherent to say that it has a reference point from which it derives and depends for its actuality and intelligibility. I will tell you again, you have metaphysically contradicted yourself.
So
I've got you cornered.
Yeah, so maybe I'm missing
Listen, you listen to me. This isn't check. It's checkmate. It's checkmate.
Check these balls in your mouth.
So, are you saying you want to be done with the discussion, or? No, it's checkmate because you've contradicted yourself. Because you told me, did you tell me that some of the particulars are self-contained?
Yeah.
Okay, if they're self-contained, then it does not have an ultimate reference point because it's self-contained. Only things that are derivative dependent and not self-contained require an ultimate reference point. So you've contradicted yourself. This is the 5th time I've told you.
Yes, I'm asking if you want to continue the discussion or not.
Well, there's nothing further to defend because your not God world is incoherent. It's self-contradictory.
I'm still not seeing it, so that's why I would want to continue. But
Okay,
if you want
well,
to
I think you're a liar. Okay.
Well, I think
Now,
I'm just confused.
Did I ask you? Is there an ultimate reference point for each and every particular that exists? You said yes. You said the set of all real things. Now,
yeah.
But then you said that some of the members of the set are self-contained. They can't be self-contained if they have an ultimate reference point.
He said infinite. He didn't say some. He said infinite.
Okay, whatever. He's a train wreck. Okay. Now, this is the 6th time I've explained to you your metaphysical contradiction. If something is, for example, let's take God.
Mm-hmm.
God does not require an external reference point because he's absolute and self-contained, unconditionally non-dependent and derivative. So God does not require an external independent reference point, right? Do you understand that?
I don't think so.
Okay, listen carefully. The ultimate reference point refers to why any particular exists and possesses intelligibility. Either a particular in view will require an ultimate reference point because it is not self-contained. If something is self-contained, it requires no ultimate reference point. Are we clear on that?
I guess
The ultimate reference point for a particular is the explanation of why it exists, why it continues to exist, and in the ultimate explanation of its intelligibility. Okay. If something is absolute within itself, it requires no external reference point for its existence, dependence, derivation, or intelligibility. It explains itself. You told me that some of the particulars are self-contained, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That means then, if they're self-contained, then there's no need for it to have, nor could it have, an external reference point as defined. It would be a contradiction in terms for you to say that a particular absolute that is self-contained at the same time has an ultimate reference point that is not itself. Do you understand that that would be a contradiction?
Yeah, and an ultimate reference point is just going to be like...
I want a clear answer, instead of verbiage, I want a clear answer that you understand that if you say that a particular is self-contained, but that it has an independent reference point, this is a contradiction in terms.
Yeah, I just want to know what...
Do you understand that? Do you understand that?
No.
Okay. It is a contradiction in terms if something is identified as being self-contained, as we have defined it. If it is self-contained for its existence and its intelligibility, it does not require, nor does it have, an independent or external reference point. Do you understand?
So what's a reference point here?
Right. Okay, now, so when I ask you, for each and every member of the set of all particulars, who has an open mic?
Just continues on the screen.
You like to click off whatever's on.
Okay. You told me that some of the particulars are self-contained, right?
Yeah.
Okay. When I asked you, in the set of all particulars, what is the ultimate reference point for each and every particular? And you named the universe. But if something is self-contained, it cannot have an ultimate reference point.
Yeah, so what's an ultimate reference point? I've been trying to...
An ultimate... Well, have I not explained this to you several times?
I don't think so, but maybe I'm forgetting.
Okay, you can fuck off, okay? You filthy liar, okay? Now you won't be speaking in my room again. See, when you start lying to me like that, okay? See, this is what they do. They lie. What a filthy liar.
Darth,
okay?
what was that book?
Trinity, hold on.
Yeah, please.
I can't stand that guy, Sasha. Man, I'm surprised.
Yeah, he's a drippy, sleazy liar here. Okay, he knew I had him cornered. He said every particular that exists has an ultimate reference point. I explained to him that an ultimate reference point is the reason why anything in particular exists. Okay, and he said it was the group, the set, whatever it is. He could say it's X. He was caught, he was blindsided in a clear contradiction, and he knew this. He's not this stupid. The book is The Trinity and the Vindication of the Christian Paradox. If you want a copy, just send me a DM. But if you read the book and you like it, you should buy the book, okay?
I will buy it. You said The Trinity one more time, please?
The Trinity and the Vindication of the Christian Paradox. Would you like to send me? Would you like me to send you a copy so that you can decide whether or not to buy it?
Is it on your drive?
Yes.
Yeah, I have your drive.
Okay, that's in the theology folder. Okay, so Sasha is a dishonest person. See, this is why it's impossible, because they will lie right through their teeth. Okay, I explained to him that things that are not self-contained require an external reference point. They do not explain their existence, nor do they contextually explain what they are in and of themselves. So on the one hand, he said he said some of the particulars are absolute and self-contained. Well, if they're absolute and self-contained, they don't require an external reference point. But then he said all of the particulars have an external reference point. Yeah, he's a piece of garbage.
Well, it's true. All things have a cause. The cause of any given thing is outside of itself and of a different category of thing, different type of entity. Cars don't make cars. Something other than cars, some non-cars made cars. Same is true of all things.
Light Dawkins, you have been unmuted.
Hello, Darth.
How old are you?
14.
We're not doing this, sunshine. Come back when you're old enough to shave.
Is there like a line for speaking or something?
No, I'm just not going to deal with uneducated little boys whose mommy and daddy are negligent and allow them on the internet.
Can I ask a question?
You just did.
May I ask another one other than this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
The way you conceive evidence, can't I simply like exist in a reality where like trends exist, therefore I interact with the world as if, like there's a likelihood, for example, that I know certain things based on what just happened before?
I'm not understanding you. You're going to have to be more clear.
So from what I understand about your position, and this is what I've heard from others, is that you can't know anything. You can't understand logic unless it's created by God, correct?
Yeah, it's called the God is the Principium Essentia, which means he's the ground of all being, and he's the Principium Cognoscentia, which means he is the ground and basis of why we could know anything at all.
But in reality, like similar with like things like deterministic principles, right? Like
can you get closer to your mic?
I can try. Is this better?
Yeah.
What was I saying? Oh, can't I simply interact with the world as if I don't know everything, but that I assume based on previous experience that something will happen as I assume it will?
Are you trying to tell me that your world can be intelligible apart from recognizing that the world is instituted and secured and operating according to his plan, and that you can intelligibly interpret the world based upon induction?
To some degree, yeah. Does it necessarily have to be the case that I have to justify?
No. Induction doesn't get you to why anything at all exists or provides for its metaphysical contextual explanation or intelligibility.
Can't I just appeal to the past? I know the car exists because humans built it.
Okay. Well, when you appeal to the past, even if you're appealing to the present, whatever you say is always going to presuppose certain fundamental parameters, okay, such as the reality of the external physical world, the causal principle, and the uniformity of nature. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they real?
I can show trends. I can't prove that they're real.
No. Are they real?
I don't. For me, it is. Yeah.
Okay. You believe they're real. Okay. Do you believe that they're real in virtue that they derive from, are instituted and secured by the mind and the plan of God?
Let's go with no.
Oh, okay. So how are they real?
Well, simply because I perceive them.
No, you can't perceive these parameters. They're universal or global in nature.
You mean like laws of cause and effect?
No, you cannot perceive the causal principle. You infer that there's causation because there's a conjunction of events, because there's a conjunction. Because there is a chronology of events that one precedes another, and then you infer causal relationships. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So, do you have a rational justification that the causal principle that you do believe is true? What imposes and sustains that it's real? Since you reject that it is the mind and the plan of God, what makes it real?
Simply that I'm perceiving it. I can't prove that it's
real.
Can't.
You're repeating yourself again.
No, I can't prove. I can't prove it. I can't prove it's real.
Okay, good. So everything you say is predicated on a foundation of I don't know.
But I react or interact with the universe as if there is like a causal.
When you say interact again, you're presupposing the causal principle. Is the causal principle real?
For me, yeah, based on my perception, as far as me not being a brain
you're repeating yourself again.
I thought I was
perception presupposes the causal principle. Okay, what instantiates the causal principle being real? Since it is not the mind and the plan of God, what makes it real?
Basically, evidence, an educated guess, essentially.
No, you're just simply inferring without a rational justification that the causal principle just is. Right?
Well, the causal principle just is.
Is the causal, okay, so the causal principle now, when you say that it just is, are you saying that it simply is there without any identifiable or defensible reason why it is?
Not one that humans know. Yeah.
Okay, so the causal principle is a brute fact then. Okay, a brute fact is something that is stated to exist, but there's no identifiable or defensible reason why it is. Okay, is that what the causal principle is to you?
I guess.
Okay, so that they're uninterpretable. Back for an information to interpret what it is. So there's no way for you to know that it's real. It's uninterpretable.
Oh, so you're saying that I have no certainty that will continue to exist, correct?
Okay. What if there was a phenomenon that the world became acquainted with, but it was uninterpretable? Would it be intelligible?
You couldn't give me an example of what that would, something like that would be.
Something is just uninterpretable. Nobody could interpret it.
So I couldn't perceive it with my senses?
No, because that would be partially interpretable. Okay.
Then
so the fact of the matter is, no, what I'm trying to say to you is this. What you were saying is, behind everything that you believe in terms of foundational parameters, those foundational parameters, such as the causal principle, they are brute facts. And as a brute fact is uninterpretable. There's no rhyme or reason identifiably or defensibly as to what or why it is.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's like a purpose to the universe necessarily.
That's not with that word. That's a bit of a segue. Okay, what we're saying is these fundamental parameters. There's no identifiable or defensible reason why it is what it is. If there's no identifiable reason for what or why something is, it's uninterpretable.
Hold on, like 20 people are messaging me.
20 people are messaging you? Are they trying to feed you help?
I have no idea. I'm not reading it.
Well, take a look at them. Tell me what they're saying. I'd be curious to see what these knuckle draggers are trying to tell you to say to me. Read some of them to me.
That would be rude. Let's just continue our conversation.
No, you don't have to identify them. Just read to me what they're sending to you.
I think I think it's gibberish. Can you restate your point quickly? What you just said? I'm trying.
Yeah. When you dismiss God as the ultimate reference point, the ultimate metaphysical context to ground the actuality and intelligibility, okay, you don't need God for interpretability.
By interpretability, you mean that there would be a reason
that anything means anything. Hold on a second.
But that's not necessary. You don't need
question is, why is that answer necessary? That's the question.
Yeah, no, of course. Like so the cause and effect chain remains true regardless of the fact of whether or not I believe in God. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, your knowledge has no impact on the reality of.
Yeah, but he's not Dawkins isn't arguing that causality is false, right? He's arguing that it entails that God exists.
No.
But
Dawkins'
what do you mean,
rationale.
no? That's what he's
rationale
arguing.
but Dawkins' rationale.
I don't agree with it.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Dawkins' rationale is wrong with it because he assumes
interrupting
that if
me
you
to tell you that you disagree with Darth
provide...
Dawkins.
Okay, let Daps carry on. Daps was having a conversation.
Okay, I'm back. I had a phone call.
Okay, I think we were talking about.
It was Donald. It was Donald Trump. He wanted to exchange notes on his upcoming campaign.
Nice.
Okay, so you don't need God for interpretability.
Very quickly, by interpretability, you're meaning like a meaning behind the cause and effect. Is that what you mean?
Whatever fundamental parameters that you appeal to, if they're uninterpretable.
Can you use a different word than interpretability? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with the word.
There's nothing that provides for what it means or that it's intelligible.
Why is meaning necessary for me to make an observation about cause and effect as it exists in my reality?
Okay, you don't make an observation about a cause and effect. You presuppose the causal principle.
I don't know
So
that I'm making any judgments about the pen dropping on the table.
Of course you are. Okay. So when you make statements, you are presupposing the causal principle. Okay. But in order for that to be meaningful, the causal principle has to be real. Is there a reason why it's real? Or is it an illusion?
In the sense that I could be a brain in the vat kind of situation?
Is the causal principle real or an illusion?
For me, it's real.
No. Don't say to me it's real, because that is the equivalent of just saying I believe it.
I mean, but I can't prove that everybody else is observing.
No, sir, do you understand that when you say to me it's true, that's just another way of saying I believe it. I'm not interested in that. All I want to know is the causal principle real? Do you believe that?
I believe, yes. The causal principle is real.
Okay. Do you have a rational justification that it's real?
My previous experience.
Yeah, dude, why are you trolling?
How is this trolling?
Okay. When you appeal to your previous experience, you're presupposing the causal principle.
But it happened in the past.
You're not understanding. You still haven't established that the causal principle is real. When you appeal to your experience, the very statement, my experience, right? You're talking about your sense datum, things like that. This is already presupposing the causal principle is real.
But that's all I have.
Okay, so all you have is begging the question.
How so?
When you presuppose it like that, that's begging the question.
So your intention is.
Okay. So you're going to justify the realness and actuality of the causal principle by appealing to X, but X presupposes the causal principle?
Sorry, one sec. Okay, sorry. So you're saying you're asking me to provide a justification for the existence of cause and effect that is outside my sense, perception, and experience, correct?
No, I'm asking you is how is the causal principle real? What is it that imposes
that? I guess the best I have is just the laws of nature. I don't have much else.
No. The laws of nature would require the causal principle before you could invoke them.
So you're okay. So cause and effect would be before laws of nature, or
the causal principle would presuppose the regularity of nature.
Okay, then I would appeal to the cause and effect.
Okay. Is the causal principle real?
I believe so, yeah.
On what grounds?
That I have experienced it. That's all I have. I'm sorry. I know we're going in circles.
Then all you're saying is does your experience transcendently presuppose the causal principle?
No.
Oh, okay. Then your experience wouldn't mean anything, because your experiences would be events that are spontaneous and unrelated to each other. How would spontaneous events that are unconnected and unrelated to any other events indicate the causal principle?
Only insofar that I'm a human that perceives the cause and effect chain to be that way.
No, you can't listen again. You can't perceive the cause and effect chain. You are inferring that there is the causal principle because of the conjunction of the chronology of events. Okay?
Okay, well that's all I mean,
I'm really going through this methodically with you, and I don't, based upon what I'm hearing from you, you can't possibly be this stupid. Okay? So you don't have a defense that the causal principle is real. What imposes it? Is there something that imposes and sustains the causal principle?
No, there's nothing before the causal principle, in my opinion.
No, okay. So what makes the causal principle real then? Has it always existed?
I couldn't possibly know something before.
Okay, so you don't so you don't have a rational basis that the causal principle is real.
We're back at my only evidence is that I'm a human, basically.
What you're saying is the causal principle is real because I'm surrounded by the causal principle.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, that doesn't justify it.
But
the causal principle is real because the causal principle is real.
Yeah.
That's your position.
That's axiomatic, yeah.
Okay, that doesn't demonstrate to me that it's true.
Nobody can prove to you that
okay, do you believe in God?
No.
If I said to you God exists because God exists, would you accept that?
No.
Okay, so why do you accept the causal principle is true because the causal principle is true?
Because in practice, I could not exist in a human without accepting that.
Okay, how can you say what anything is when you don't know what ultimately and fundamentally dictates what is, can be, and cannot be? Do you know what ultimately dictates what is, can be, and cannot be?
I don't know that I need to know that for me to drop a pen.
I didn't ask. I said, do you know what? You see, your response was a classic example of evasion. Do you know? Okay, good. Then you're inept in this kind of a conversation then, or you're deceptive.
Can I make a point?
Now, do you know or believe what it is that is fundamental, that institutes and secures what is, can be, or cannot be for any state of affairs?
No.
Okay. Then in a second, just hold that thought. Okay. Mm-hmm. So then you can't say can't, because that's a stipulation of what cannot be. But you don't know if there is anything at all that prohibits anything. So you can't say can't. You've now screwed yourself. There's nothing identifiable or defensible that will prohibit anything. Okay? Is there something identifiable, okay, and defensible that institutes what cannot be?
I'm not sure.
Okay, listen to me. I didn't ask you if you were sure. Do you have something that is identifiable and defensible that will prohibit any state of affairs?
No.
Okay, so then you can't. Okay, right. So now you no longer can say I can't do this or that.
Well, I mean, I can, right? What I'm trying to get at.
Okay, we're done. You are intellectually ill-equipped for this conversation.
Are you going to let me make my point? Or
no, we're done, sir. Because you just admitted. Because there's no point. There's no point to make. Because whatever you affirm, okay, I can just deny it, and you cannot rebut it. Do you know why? It's because in order to rebut it, you would have to say, well, that cannot be. You've screwed yourself. Listen to me. Do you understand? If I give you a rebuttal, okay, right? If I just say, well, that's not true because there's marshmallows on the moon, right? You can't object to that because there's nothing identifiable or defensible that will prohibit anything. We're done,
not
sir.
Understanding
Listen,
yeah,
we're done. Okay. Next.
Okay, so you said you were going to let me make a
claim. We're done, sir. Okay.
Okay. Have a good day.
I had a follow-up question, just based on what the argument you just had.
Good day, sir. I said good day.
Go ahead.
Is there like a feature in virtue of which something can account for its own intelligibility or provide its own intelligibility on your view? Because I'm wondering, like, well, so is there like a feature in virtue of which God does that? Like, what's to prevent someone from saying the causal principle accounts for its own intelligibility? Like, there's got to be some sort of like feature missing from the causal principle that differentiates it from God in such a way that, like, God, because of the way God's set up, can account for its own intelligibility, but there's some sort of gap for something like the causal principle.
Good. That's a good question. See, this is why I enjoy your participation, because you always are very thoughtful and you ask great questions. Okay. When we invoke God,
thank you.
We do so because God takes the initiative to reveal his existence. How would the causal principle being real if it was, quote, self-contained? How would that be revealed to us?
Okay, so there's a kind of like purposefulness to God and a capacity to interact with us and interact with our kind of epistemological setup in a way that the causal principle is more like inert. It's just kind of
Well, the causal principle usually is universal or globally stated, or they'll say that the causal principle is partial and that other events are spontaneous. Okay. You know, in other words, things just happen. So how would somebody make and secure this universal of the causal principle? How would they do that? See, God is a declaration of a universal. Okay, do you understand that? Bowley, are you there? My mic working?
It is, yeah. Sorry, my wife just came in, so I had to give her a hug.
Oh, that's nice. Good.
But I did hear what you said. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so God is a stipulation of a universal. Okay, he's the supreme being and creator and sustainer of all things that are not himself. So God is a stipulation of a universal. How do we account for that universal? Well, the only way we could account for it is God would have to take the initiative to reveal himself. Could I instantiate that God is without him revealing himself?
If we're going to say that, like, natural revelation, like, if I think the answer is probably no, provided that we say that, like, when you look at the world and you're drawing inferences and coming into contact, like directly observing things, that's God revealing himself.
How are we going to instantiate any universal declaration? How would we do
that? When you say instantiate the universal, do you mean like how could we understand the concept, or how could we have rational grounds to affirm it?
Yeah, what would be the rational grounds to invoke that it's real?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure. I know a couple different perspectives about it. I'm kind of indifferent.
Well, let me ask you this question. Suppose I was to assert that universally everything that exists is composed at an infinitesimally small range of strings. Okay, I'm sure you've heard of string theory.
Yep, 13 dimensions. Yep.
Yeah, so we would have string theory. Okay, saying everything is composed of that. Okay, now if I was omniscient, right, I could instantiate that, right?
you could justifiably, you'd have knowledge of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But if I'm not omniscient, unless I'm on the receiving end of somebody who is and infallibly communicates that to me directly or indirectly, could I actually rationally ground that universal?
I guess this is a part that I don't quite understand about your perspective, which is when God communicates to you, when I say you, I mean to anyone. God communicates in a way that's like infallible, can't be mistaken, communicates the truth. But the part I get all that, right? It's like not a hallucination, and it has some sort of
no. There's
aura
more
of
to
truth to
there's
it.
there's more to it than that. There are certain things that God can make us to know in a way that we believe it, that we cannot be wrong, but we may not be able to articulate
Okay.
how we know it. Okay, so there's something called tacit knowledge. Michael Polanyi's written a couple of books on this, which I keep on saying I'm going to get to reading, and I have to. But he says we know more than we can say, right? And I don't think anybody can dispute that. Okay, so in the biblical view, God imparts knowledge to us in different ways and in different levels. Okay.
Does this have to do with your perspective on autonomy? Because I can just imagine people objecting, like, "Oh, God's like brainwashing. God's like imparting this knowledge to us. God's like brainwashing us."
God makes us to think in a foundational and fundamental way that we cannot think otherwise. But above and beyond that, we can choose to believe things that are reasonable. We can choose to believe things that are unreasonable. We can deceive ourselves about certain things. Okay. But you see, when Adam opened up his eyes, okay, and he looked around, okay, immediately he was having a cognitive process.
Mm-hmm.
God made him to think in those foundational ways in a way he couldn't think otherwise. Now, when God told him, "Do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, in the day thereof you shall surely die. Dying you will die," in the Hebrew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Adam chose to dismiss that which God had imparted. Okay. But he was still operating foundationally the way God made him to think, in that he was he was still believing that his basic cognitive apparatus was operating correctly.
Okay, so maybe by analogy, sort of like God gives everyone a car, and we can like drive it where we want to go, but they're all working on an internal combustion engine. Maybe.
Well, I wouldn't put it that way. I'd like to get back to the issue of the universal, right?
Sure.
So God, as typified by theologian Cornelius Van Til, is the concrete universal, in that God is a concrete entity, and that everything is universally derived and depends upon God. So God is the concrete universal. Now, if that is to be rejected, and somebody is going to start with some other fundamental parameter that's not God, they will usually be invoking it, whether they realize it or not, as a universal. Okay? Like the causal principle, right? All right.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd they get that universal from? Imagine the people that I know in my neighborhood here, people that I deal with on a daily basis, in talking with them, if that were certain events, I started to communicate that there was not, in fact, any causal connection between some events, but that some events are purely spontaneous. Not that I don't know the cause, but that there is no cause, that there's a series of some events that are purely spontaneous. And although some other events may be the product of cause and effect, what are they going to think of my reasoning? Okay. Can you show me anyone who lives their daily life who believes that there are events that are truly spontaneous?
I guess I'm open to that possibility just because, I don't know, I guess things like alpha particle decay or like the kind of probabilistic description
This
of
never fails to
quantum mechanics.
happen. People go to quantum mechanics.
Sure.
The fact that atoms decay in a half-life, some decay and others don't, it doesn't mean that it's spontaneous, okay? It means that we don't know the reason yet why certain particles decay and others don't.
Yeah, there's an interesting excuse me, voice just cracked there. I'm going through puberty, so it's a difficult time for me.
Well, I just hope your wife didn't hear that.
She'll divorce me. There's a paper, and it's very much a technical paper in physics, but it investigates whether, and the phrase that they use, and I really like this, is whether quantum states are states of knowledge or states of nature. So is the nature of the probability just that we have some sort of epistemic uncertainty about it, but there is some underlying fact of the matter that there's some sort of story under there.
Yes.
And the conclusion of the paper is that it has to be states of nature. Now, I can't assess, I'm not like a physicist, and furthermore, I don't know how this paper was received. I don't even know if it was published. I read a preprint of it, but I am curious. I think that's an interesting question, and my intuition is definitely on your side that there is some God knows when the particles are going to decay, and to me that suggests that there's some underlying structure happening there. But
yeah,
but yeah.
Can I just ask Bollier? Do you have the link to that? I'd be interested.
Yeah, I can. Where would you like me to post it?
I'm fine for you to DM it me.
Sure,
if that's all right. Yeah, thanks.
So, Dredd, are you still an atheist?
Yeah.
Why?
Yo, Darth.
Because I still have not heard a convincing argument to change my position.
Okay, so the not God world is true solely on the grounds that you're unconvinced of the God world?
Yeah. So fundamentally, I think that the positive claim is that God exists. Until I think that the people claiming that have met the burden of proof to show that to me.
Okay,
that's not an answer.
That's not an answer to my question. Do you hold that the not God world is true?
No.
Okay, so you withhold judgment as to the existence of God?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so do you positively believe that all the facts that you're acquainted with necessitate deriving and depending upon God?
No.
Okay, so then can God, as defined as the supreme being and the creator of all facts that are not himself, in that those facts would necessitate deriving and depending upon God, can God, as I have just defined, logically coexist if there is even one fact that doesn't depend upon him?
No. If so defined, no.
God cannot logically coexist. So your position is that there are facts, but you believe they don't depend or derive upon God until shown otherwise.
Yes, I don't think it's been shown that that's
okay. So what you have just affirmed logically commits you to the non-existence of God.
So let me just think about it for a second.
You have affirmed a proposition that facts exist within independence of God until demonstrated otherwise. So you just admitted that God cannot logically coexist if there is even one fact that exists with independence from him. So what you have affirmed logically entails that God cannot logically coexist.
Okay. So when you ask the question,
do you agree to that last statement?
Well, I'm trying to go through the language that you used.
Do you agree to that? You think I don't remember your past circuitous and evasiveness? You think I don't remember that?
No, of course not.
Yeah, I have a good memory
I
for
don't think
that.
casino.
Now, okay, so I asked a question.
Sure.
Okay.
And as I said, I was trying to
what you affirm, what you have affirmed, means that God cannot logically coexist, right?
I don't think I positively affirmed anything yet in this conversation.
Yes, you did. I asked you, do you believe that facts necessitate? So you do not believe that facts necessitate God. You believe that facts do not necessitate referencing God.
Those are two different positions.
No, sir. Either a fact will exist in one of two realms, okay? It's a dichotomous realm. Either a fact will exist with dependence upon God or not.
Sure.
Good.
That's fine.
In which realm does the fact exist?
As I said, I do not positively believe that it depends on a God. That doesn't mean I'm affirming that it does not depend on a God. Those are two different states.
It does. Then your facts have nowhere to exist. Facts can only exist in a realm that either depends or a realm that does not depend upon God. So then you have no facts to speak of.
So sure, I agree with your statement, right? I'm saying I don't know which realm they do depend on.
I didn't ask you what you know. I'm talking about what you believe. You see, this never fails to happen with unbelievers. They always try to scurry down that rabbit hole. I don't know. I don't care what you don't know. I'm talking about what you believe.
Yeah, I don't
You
take a positive
believe. Yeah, you do. You have a belief that facts simply exist without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God.
So okay. Seeing as we've talked a lot, I'd like to make a simple statement.
Can you affirm or deny that last statement? Do you believe that facts?
No, I don't. I don't positively believe that.
Do you believe facts exist?
They seem to. Sure.
No, I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you whether they seem. I said, do you believe facts exist?
Sure.
Okay. Do the facts that you believe exist without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God?
I've not been shown that they do.
Okay, that's not an answer to my question. Again, you are a very deceitful person. You are repeating the same evasiveness and deception that you have always deployed when I've talked to you. I'll repeat the question again. Do you believe that facts exist without the necessity of deriving and depending upon God?
No.
Oh, so you do believe that they derive and depend upon God?
No.
Okay, so then your facts don't exist anywhere.
No, incorrect. I agree that they exist. I don't know from where they derive.
No, sir. Then your facts don't exist.
No, that's
I didn't ask you. Okay, if I don't want to hear, I don't know anymore. I'm not asking what you know. I'm asking what you believe. So your facts, okay, you do not believe they reside in independence of God. So therefore, there's no world for your facts to exist in.
So wait, you said there was a second world anyway, so that would
see.
follow.
Notice everyone. He's well practiced at evasion. This is his skill.
I'm well practiced in logic. You've already told us there was a
second
world.
You're well practiced in being deceitful. Now, facts will either exist with dependence upon God or not.
Yes,
there's only two possible worlds where facts exist.
Sure.
If you do not believe either, then there's no world that your facts can exist in.
Why do you think that someone has to take a positive belief in every situation?
Notice again. Does everybody notice? See, this is for the
Everyone
benefit.
notices
The reason,
that for some reason
okay,
you don't like
can
skepticism.
you know what? You can fuck off. Okay, and I just kicked him from the
Darth.
room. Okay, yo, shut up. Okay, now
this Febby guy wants you to unmute him.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
you told him that he wants to speak to you.
Who?
Febby.
I can't understand you.
Febby wants you to unmute him because you promised him to speak to him. Febby.
I'm still not understanding you.
Febby.
Yeah, could somebody translate, please?
The guy named Febby wants you to unmute him because you promised him to speak to him.
Febby! No, he's server muted.
Yeah, that's why he wants you to unmute him.
Too bad.
No, keep him muted. He uses they, them pronouns.
He's muted for a reason. He's muted for misbehavior. Okay, I finally kicked that guy because I just got tired of his absolute deception. Okay? He wants to say there are facts, but he does not believe they exist in one world. He doesn't believe they exist in another world. So there's no world for his facts to exist in. You see what a bullshitter he is? Anybody care to comment?
Honestly, man, these atheists are so dishonest. Like, why can't they just admit that they want to live a life, right, without being judged? They want to do their little degenerate acts without being judged, and they come up with these mental gymnastic philosophies, right, which have no logic behind it. If you actually challenge them, it's just a circular logic, and that's what they call people that are religious. They said they're using circular logic.
Yeah, so here's the bottom line, okay? He does not want to admit what we all know he believes. He actually believes that facts are, from a conceptual standpoint, that they are to be reckoned as existing non-dependently from God until shown otherwise. Right? He doesn't want to admit that. So much so that he says, I don't know. Who cares what you claim to know? We're going to talk about what you believe. Well, I don't believe either. So there's only two possible worlds where facts can reside. Ontologically, facts will either reside in a world where they derive and depend upon God, or a world where they do not. It's a true dichotomy. There's not a third world. Is there a third world, anybody?
Nope.
I don't understand why the facts are necessary for me to engage with reality, though.
We're starting with you again. Yeah, you're ill-equipped for this. Okay? I don't know why you're opening up again. You're ill-equipped to carry on this conversation. Okay? But you know what? I'll humor you. Okay? If I said to you, either facts exist or they don't exist, would you agree or object to that?
Yeah, that's a factual statement.
Okay, if I said to you, Donald Trump is either alive or he's not alive, would you accept that?
Yeah.
Okay, if I said to you, facts either reside in a world of dependence upon God or not.
Sure.
Okay, so that's a true dichotomy?
Hold on, sorry. You said that facts either necessitate.
They either exist in a world where they derive and depend upon God or not. A or not A.
Okay.
Okay, is there a third world?
Yeah, there's a third reality in which facts don't rely on God, but they're also untrue or something. I don't know. Maybe.
Wow. Didn't I just tell you you're ill-equipped? Do you know what the law of excluded mental is?
No, sir.
Okay. Something is either A or not A. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just simply applying the law of excluded middle. Facts either exist within a world where they depend and derive upon God or not.
Okay. Yeah, that makes
All
sense.
I'm simply doing is filling in the values. It's an expression of the law of excluded middle.
I just want to hear, like, how can facts be untrue? It's literally an oxymoron.
Well, yeah.
You can think that facts aren't like facts, right? They may not be provable, but you can exist in a reality with unprovable facts.
Look, when we're talking about facts, we're all recognizing that they're putatively true. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, because then upon analysis, we could say, well, it wasn't a fact at all. It was just a misapprehension. Okay. Now, facts will either exist in a world with or without God. Right? There's not another world. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that little scumbag, Dredd, was trying to going, oh, well, I don't believe they depend upon God, but I'm not believing that they don't depend upon God. Now, that might work in a discussion about gold on Mars. I don't positively believe there's gold on Mars, but I don't believe that there's not gold on Mars. You could withhold judgment. But you see, gold is not in a position of being a transcendental necessity where God is. So facts either depend upon God or not. Facts will have to, in order to be facts, will have to reside in one world or another. So if he says he doesn't believe that facts exist in either world, there's no world for his facts to exist in. Okay?
But do you need those facts to exist?
You're not getting this, are you? Okay?
Perhaps
He's
not.
purposely, listen, this is what has been going on for the last generation or so with atheists. They're playing head games. They're waving the white flag of surrender because they're no longer arguing, for the most part, that God does not exist. They want to play this little verbal kabuki dance, this little verbal vaudeville act where they claim atheism, but then when they're called on the carpet to support it, they then claim that their atheism represents withholding judgment from either God or not God. Oh, how convenient that they're using the only word in the English language which designates the denial of God while maintaining that they're withholding judgment from God. How convenient, the church lady says.
So
Right?
agnostics don't exist then?
Agnosticism is a false claim to withhold judgment from God. It is the claim to withhold judgment, but they're not withholding judgment. Okay? That is why, listen, when people are selected for a jury, okay, there are people who are removed from the jury during jury selection because even though they might vigorously claim that they can withhold judgment, we all know that they can't, right? And so their claim to be withholding judgment is not really, it won't hold water, okay? Now, so the agnostic claims, I'm withholding judgment from God. Okay, that's their claim. But inherent to that claim is that they can get along fine talking intelligibly about their world without referencing God. Okay? So it's a false claim. And it only becomes apparent that it's false if you analyze it from a transcendental point of view. Bolia, why does that other guy below you have the same name?
I have no idea. I just
Yo, Darth, I have a question for you.
Oh, he had his name used to be Darth Dawkins.
Okay. So
he asked me
we're
to unmute you, or he asked me to ask you to unmute him or something.
Okay, we're gonna ban him. Okay,
Darth.
Hold on a second. Okay, goodbye, troll. You'll have to come in under a different account. Go ahead.
Have you seen the movie Contact?
No, but I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Oh no, because it was related to religion and space and all that.
Yeah,
Contact
was with Jodie Foster. They contact aliens in the movie, and it's a book. I think the movie was derived from a book by Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan the pagan. Carl Sagan the atheist, who denied he was an atheist, but he was an atheist.
And what do you think of him?
I have utter contempt for him as an atheist, but as an educator, he's deceased now. As an educator in astronomy, I always found listening to him, in spite of the fact that I disagreed with a certain chunk of what he had to say, fascinating listening to him. I thought that he was erudite. I thought he was very intelligent, a little bit quirky, but that's okay. So there were lots of things that I liked about him. Okay, I mean, the guy was really smart.
I agree.
So on the one hand, he's enjoyable. On another hand, he's interesting to listen to. On the other hand, I have nothing contempt for him for being an atheist and not being transparent about his atheism, because he denied being an atheist. But there's a YouTube video that you can see on him when somebody asks him about God, and he doesn't outright deny God, but later on he indirectly says we're on our own. Okay, only an atheist would say that.
And maybe a deist too. I mean, to be fair, but I mean, are there any better? Let's be honest.
No, a deist wouldn't say we're on our own because they're invoking a God. Now, their invoking God may have no credibility, but they wouldn't say we're. Well, let me just qualify that. They might say we're on our own in the sense that God has left the world just to simply to run without interdiction. So, in that sense, you might be correct.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Then I would agree with you there.
But I mean, to be honest, though, deism is just like atheism, extra steps, right? It's not all it's doing.
It's as worthless as atheism.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to say. It's basically just atheist. It's like, God existed, but he created the universe, left, and basically we agree everything with atheists besides this one minute point. It's basically the same argument. Yeah. They use the same argument. They use the same logic. It's just they have one different premise.
Right. So when I see new videos on YouTube in my YouTube feed of Carl Sagan that I haven't seen before, I definitely watch it. I like listening to him, even though I think that a certain chunk of what he says is just his atheistic propaganda masquerading as astronomy and science. But he's a fascinating guy to listen to.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, but here's the problem is that a lot of people in academia think that just because they mastered one topic that they know everything. And they have to understand that, you know a lot about astronomy and all this.
Carl Sagan, as far as I know, was never confronted with somebody who was theologically and philosophically adept, or else he would have been smoked. Okay? So definitely. He gets away. Like in the video when they ask him a question about God, you can see it on YouTube. The first thing he says, he does the classic atheist bait and switch. He says, "Well, which God?" Okay.
So dishonest, honestly.
That's like if you're talking about the existence of ice cream, you say, "Oh, well, which flavor?"
Yeah.
Okay. Well, once we come to an agreement that there's ice cream, then we can talk about what flavor it is. But so you see, even the highly intelligent, articulate, erudite Carl Sagan uses a bait and switch tactic that teenage atheists use all the time on the interweb.
And that's
the guy's
thing,
cool.
yeah.
The guy is so cool to listen to because he has an idiosyncratic way of speaking. So yeah, I'm highly critical of him, but I still enjoy listening to the guy. Chief, what are you doing in here?
Oh, am I breathing?
Are you the same Chief that I'm thinking of who had repeatedly heckling me in other rooms?
Me?
Yeah.
This is one of the first times I've been with you.
Okay, my mistake. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else with the username Chief. Okay, my apology.
But I did have something to ask you, Mr. Dawkins.
You don't have to call me Mister.
All right, Dr. Dawkins. You and I were in a conversation yesterday that revolved around you explaining how Satan had it revolved around Jesus walking the desert, right? And how you said that Jesus didn't deny Satan's dominion, like when he said like he owned like these kingdoms.
Jesus did not deny Nancy Pelosi's, Satan's powers. No.
Yeah, I found that very interesting, and I wanted to see if we could talk about that more.
Yeah. Satan claimed that he could deliver all the kingdoms to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Did Jesus said, no, you can't? No, he didn't.
Yeah. I was curious as where in the Bible did because I know that we don't know the whole contract between Satan and God as far as Satan's ownership of, I guess, the surface world, whatever you want to call it.
What contract?
Well, I mean,
there's no contract. Satan, when we go to Isaiah, there's a passage of a king speaking, but what you really find out is this is letting us know what Satan was doing, okay? Because he was inspiring the king. When Satan was lifted up, he says, I will become like the Most High. There wasn't a contract that we could instantiate between God and Satan, okay? And then you find it, I believe it's in the book of Revelation where it talks about Satan and a third of his angels were cast down to earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he is seeking to manipulate the hordes of humanity in terms of their cultures, countries, governments, things like that, because he's one of the most powerful, if not smartest, creatures that existed next to God. So in a certain sense, he does have dominion, okay? But it's only dominion that God permits during the course of his redemptive plan of history. But Jesus didn't say, well, no, you don't control these kingdoms.
Mm-hmm. I see. Because I thought it was like Satan just had free rule and ownership of the land.
No.
Okay.
Now, because we have God's unfolding plan of redemptive history, Satan doesn't have complete control over all human events. So even though Satan is doing his best to manipulate the course of human events in a way that is hostile toward God, God can still seamlessly intertwine Satan's efforts to fulfill his redemptive plan of human history. Okay?
I see.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm my first Bible study, for the first time, a good while here on the 31st. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Isn't it amazing? I've been on for a while now, and we've had little to no heckling whatsoever. Yet I'll go into another room, and if I'm interacting with somebody else, the cockroaches come out of the woodwork, and the mods are missing in action. Isn't that amazing?
Hey, Darth.
Darth, I got a question. Wait, I don't want to interrupt that other guy.
So I might be able to answer that for you real quick, Darth. So when it came to we had a mod meeting here a couple weeks ago where we discussed, we have 4 or 5 guest rooms, including yours. And one of the things that they told us was we're not allowed to do moderation unless it's a TOS violation, because it is up to you guys' discretion.
You hold on. Okay, you mean in the guest rooms? Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of it is just out of courtesy towards whoever owns the room, that we might not mute for over talking or something, because that might just be up to the discretion of the room owner, rather than the rules of this, because the rules of the server versus the rules of the room owner might contradict as far as it goes, besides being TOS violations. And so in other rooms, the owner will permit over talking a bit, to a certain stance, or to a certain stance, and mods going in there and disrupting their own idea of conversation. We decided not to do that. But if you would like us to mute for over talking, we can. I can definitely let them know to start doing that.
Well, I don't mean it. You mean? Are you talking about in here?
Yeah.
That's not my. That's not my complaint.
Okay.
Okay, my complaint is not even a global indictment of all the mods since I've been on here. It's just that I've been in enough rooms enough times where there are mods present, and they're allowing the shit to hit the fan, and up to a dozen people at a time heckling so that I can't interact with somebody, and they sit by and don't do anything. Now, sometimes certain mods come in and they put a stop to it. So I'm just simply complaining about a good number of completely ineffectual mods. And it's not just they're ineffectual, they're purposely allowing the heckling to go on. Okay. How come it doesn't happen in this room?
Darth, what I can say about that is if you see that happening going forward, do me a favor, DM Politics Mod Mailbot and make a report, and then also DM me, and I'll make sure it gets taken care of for you.
All right. Okay. To be honest with you, I'll probably, given my advanced age, I'll probably just remember doing the, is it the guest, what is it again? The guest mod?
Yeah, I'll contact you with the mod mail bot and just show you.
Mail. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Because you see, I understand that if there's some people that I'm engaging with, if they don't want to talk with me, okay, fine. But we have a bunch of other cockroaches on the server, usually teenagers, sometimes not. They hate me so much, okay, that they just heckle. Okay. And it doesn't happen in here. How come it doesn't happen in here? How is that? What? Explain that to me.
Yeah, it's definitely.
If you have a house, and you have 2 or 3 rooms, and they're infested with cockroaches, but there's another room there, the kitchen. There's not one cockroach. How does that happen?
It's the journeyman because they can only talk in those other rooms. I'm like the only journeyman that tends to talk in here.
No, but you mean to tell me I'm in these rooms and there's no mods present?
Because you have to give permission for journeymen to speak here, so they can't talk.
You're not understanding. Okay? That's superfluous what you just said. Okay? The people who are heckling that I recognize are not journeymen. These are people who are regulars.
Really?
Really?
I figured it was journeymen because they can't talk here; they can only talk there. So I deduced.
Well, if they send me a request to be unmuted, I usually honor that. That's just a prophylactic to stop these morons. Okay.
I have an actual question for you, Darth Dawkins.
Okay, I have to go literally in 5 minutes. Okay.
Well, this is a really simple question to answer. When you mention atheists, would that also include, when you're mentioning the atheistic world and the not God world, would that also include the mystery religions and the esoteric religions and those that worship Lucifer as the atheists in the not God world?
Okay, it would include everything that does not acknowledge the creator-creature distinction, that there's a supreme being, an eternal creator God, right, that has instituted a creation, and the creation is separate and distinct, derives and depends upon God. So even though somebody may not self-identify as an atheist, if you when I talk about atheism proper, I'm talking about the denial of the creator-creature distinction. Okay? So, for example, I consider various aspects of pagan religions where they have a pantheon of gods as an aspect of atheism. Not that they deny all gods, but they deny that there is an ultimate supreme being, creator God.
See, I get it. I get it now. Yes.
But they wouldn't be atheist. They wouldn't be an atheist in the sense that they deny all gods. Okay.
Makes
But I
sense.
mean, the basic definition of atheism in the literature is the disbelief and denial of all gods. So in one sense, they wouldn't be an atheist in that sense. Okay, so if they believe in junior deities, okay, right?
Makes sense.
But I consider the denial of I would consider the denial of the creator creature distinction one aspect of atheism.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
All right, I got 3 minutes. Anyone else?
I have a question. Darth, what is your opinion on Christians cursing, using curse words, insulting people?
I think that sometimes it's appropriate, sometimes it's not.
So, like, what case would it be appropriate?
It would depend on the circumstances. There are times when I curse when it's not appropriate, and I apologize for it.
And what should you do? Like, you apologize to the people, then you apologize to God afterward?
Yeah. Have you ever heard me that sometimes I immediately say I shouldn't talk like that?
I've never. Well, I'm not really here a lot, so I don't really hear.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard you curse once, so I was just wondering
I
your
think,
opinion on cursing.
okay. Well, I don't think cursing in and of itself is wrong. I think that cursing in certain social contexts, when it's engaging in a way that would be highly offensive to certain individuals, then it would be wrong. Okay.
Interesting. All right, thank you.
I mean, I'm not saying certain words to be highly offensive. Okay. This is not me saying that if I say certain coarse words that I should do that. I'm not saying that at all. But when it comes to insult, I think that many of the times I insult that these people richly deserve it. Okay.
I have another question. It's not an advanced question.
I got
but
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay. Would you consider it wrong for a Christian to join a fraternal order such as the Freemasons?
Yes. Because Freemasonry is a cult. Freemasonry teaches that all roads lead to God, just like Alcoholics Anonymous.
Do you think it's wrong for a Christian to insult his enemies?
Is it okay? Sometimes. Jesus insulted his enemies. The apostles sometimes insulted their enemies. For example, when the apostle Paul was before the Jewish Supreme Court, somebody said something to him, and Paul responded by saying that he was a whitewashed tomb. Okay? Now, that was a grave insult. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Then somebody not done. Okay. Then somebody said, slap him because he has insulted the high priest. And then Paul immediately apologized, not because he was threatened with being slapped, because he didn't know that the individual that was speaking was at that moment the high priest. And he retracted his insult and said, I should not have said that, because, and then he quoted scripture about not bad mouthing the high priest. Okay. So Paul felt it was appropriate to insult that individual, but once he realized that it was the high priest and it was prohibited in the Old Testament, he retracted it and apologized. Stephen told the Jewish Supreme Court, okay, the Sanhedrin, you are uncircumcised in your hearts. You do always resist the Holy Spirit. Okay. They were so outraged by this that they took him on the spot out and they stoned him. And you know what's funny about that? I made mention of that, and I made a verbal faux pas that they stoned him on the spot, okay, rather than saying they reacted, grabbed him on the spot, and took him outside the city and stoned him, because I made a verbal faux pas. An atheist spent a whole YouTube episode beating that to death. That's what they spend their time on debunking.
So Do you think it contradicts with the verse that says you have to love your enemies and pray for those who prosecute you, or no?
Say that again. I was distracted.
Do you think it contradicts with the verse that says you should love your enemies and pray for those who prosecute you, or no?
Did Jesus love the religious leaders? Okay. He did, but he insulted them. It says Stephen was filled with the Holy Spirit when he said that they were uncircumcised in their heart. Do you have any idea of what a grave insult that was to them?
I guess at the time it was a great insult, yeah.
Now, do I think that every time I insult somebody, I'm right in it? I wouldn't say that.
It's like when a dad tells his son he's stupid when he does something stupid.
You know, I explained something to one of my children years ago, why it was wrong to do a depiction of the cross in a school drawing on the bottom of a shoe. Okay. I said, we should not depict the cross of Jesus Christ in a way that is either derogatory, or even if it's not intended to be derogatory, to present the cross of Jesus Christ, you know, like on underwear or toilet paper or the bottom of a shoe. Okay. And after I explained it fully, he just said, well, I still don't see anything wrong with it. So I insulted him. I said, what, are you taking stupid pills? Did I not clearly explain to you why it's wrong? Some
you said
people,
this to a child?
yeah, he was a teenager at the time.
Oh,
and so
I thought you meant like
you
a
see,
toddler.
sometimes people cannot be stupid, but they'll purposely be stupid because they're recalcitrant. Okay, just people are not free in the eyes of God to represent the cross of Jesus Christ in any way they see fit because they think they're sincere. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to dinner, and maybe or hopefully I'll be back on later on. And it's amazing. I've been on for quite a while, and relatively few cockroaches have come in and heckled. But sure enough, if I go into another room, the cockroaches will come out of the woodwork. Maybe I need to go into these rooms with a can of Raid. What do you think, folks? Should I go in with a can of Raid?
No, get one of those little bug zapper rackets, you know, that look like a tennis racket.
Yeah.
It's more environmentally friendly.
Hey, Darth, would you be willing to debate string again?
Actually, we did have a very productive conversation a little while ago. He basically communicated, let's have bygones be bygones, not impugning him or me. And he said, let's wipe the slate clean. And I said, sure, as long as you don't repeat, you know, the same misbehavior of refusing to answer a fair question. And he said, yes. So we've wiped the slate clean, and we both said we look forward to future interactions.
It's good to watch two interlocutors go at it, like two equally matched interlocutors.
Oh, he's not equally matched with me.
That's what I expect a good interlocutor to say.
Listen,
You're admitting defeat,
not that
Darth,
I'm a genius, but having talked with him, what he excels at is that he has the gift of gab, and he excels at zeal and enthusiasm. But that doesn't make up for the lack of his content and understanding his own mistakes. Not that listen, I don't consider myself a philosophical genius or a theological genius. There's a whole hell of a lot that I still need to learn if I even had a second lifetime. But I know that when people are shooting their mouth off and they don't know what they're talking about and they're lacking actual content, but it's being fueled by their zeal and their enthusiasm. Zeal and enthusiasm doesn't make up for a lack of content.
It's only one part of the equation.
Yeah. And you know what? I respect people who want to come in and vigorously and intelligently want to duke it out. I can respect that. I don't respect people being disingenuous, people being deceitful, prevaricating, and all. And I call people out for this. Okay, you know, people say Darth mutes anyone who disagrees with them. I mean, why do they bother with these lies? Once I reach a point with somebody, if it's crystal clear to me that they're being nonstop deceptive, then I mute them. Now, if somebody wants to believe that they weren't being deceptive, fine. But to sit there and say, I mute anyone I disagree with, I mean, that's just a lie. But then again, we're dealing with a whole lot of children on this server.
Who would you say was your most challenging interlocutor thus far?
I can't think of one.
Dude, the server's child's play, man.
But I mean, in all his time
debating. there's been a couple of interlocutors who have approached it in a very intelligent manner, but it wasn't like I was like, wow, I don't know what to say. Okay.
I'm not on the up and up with all the atheists out there, so I don't know who's who.
Yeah, that's why when I was invited to speak with these professional atheists on various AMAs over the last year or so, I wasn't the least bit intimidated by these people. Not because I'm smarter than them, not because I have more knowledge and philosophy than they do. Okay, it's because I'm seeing them as God sees them, that they're just engaging in foolish reasoning when they deny God, and with the questions that I poised to them are derived from what God has revealed that I know that they can't answer, even with their particular expertise and philosophy. So otherwise, if I didn't hold to that, I would be intimidated. Wow, they're going to outsmart me philosophically. I mean, explain to me why when I asked the Dr. Professor Stephen Law, who's a PhD in philosophy, he's an atheist, he's somebody who has debated William Lane Craig. Craig does not debate people who are not credentialed. Thank you. There we go. Okay. And when I asked him my question, it didn't take him long to give me a completely sleazy response and try to throw me under the bus and impugn me rather than deal with the question that I asked him. Now, on the other hand, if I was going in there to debate certain finer points of philosophy, then I might be I'm positive I would be out of my league because I don't have a PhD in philosophy. But when it comes to the issue of atheism, these people don't intimidate me. All right, I got to go to dinner, folks.
I see.
Wow. Just wow.
What happened?
That was amazing.
It's not Darth. It must be.
Yeah, I got the amazing here.
Amazing.
I both dislike and like Darth at the same time. Kind of weird.
Yeah, you're a weirdo.
Dude's got a problematic attitude. That's the big issue.
Hello.
Hi. How you doing?
Not you. Sorry, I was talking to my mom.
Me too. I like your mom.
What's up?
I like your mom. I talk to her all the time. She's great.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, lovely lady.
Oh,
Very hygienic. Keeps it
oh,
together.
what's up, man? Big, my nigga.
Yeah.
Oh, Dave, it's you. What's up, my nigga?
Oh, what's up, bro?
Not much, man. Not much.
Yeah.
Waiting for Mr. Darth to come back, man.
I know. He's great. So original. Love him.
You know, Darth is my favorite person I've ever met.
Yeah, he's like the uncle I wish I didn't have.
Shit, nigga. Hey, yo. But his arguments, man, shit.
Yeah, all these are. I'm so good at it. Oh,
I know. Uh-huh. Yeah, I know, right, man?
Well, what's good?
Yeah,
I'm
Russia
good.
invaded Ukraine.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.